Hello everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us for our webinar, How to Optimize Your Fleet's Operations with ELDs. I'm Audrey Katowski, a marketing specialist at BigRoad. Today I'm going to talk to you about how you can use electronic logging devices to optimize your fleet's operations. The purpose of this webinar is to help you get the most out of your fleet's transition to ELDs by knowing how you can use the devices to find operational efficiencies. Although before I get into how ELDs can improve your fleet's operations, I am going to provide a quick refresher on the ELD mandate, who has to comply, and who is exempt. I will then move on to compliance deadlines and provide an update on the Canadian ELD mandate and ELDs for interstate drivers. I will then move on to how electronic logging devices can improve your fleet's operations by improving your CSA score and how the devices can save time for your staff. I will also discuss how ELDs can simplify the logging process. Afterwards, I will move on to discussing the benefits of transitioning before the mandate and why your fleet should consider automatic onboard recording devices. Before I get started though, I would like to touch upon a few housekeeping items. If you submitted questions prior to the webinar, I will do my best to answer them during the presentation. If you have questions during the webinar, please feel free to enter them into the question box located on the bottom right of the GoToWebinar control panel. I'll also be opening up the floor at the end for any additional questions, so don't worry if I don't get to your questions right away. Let's get started. Let's cover the ELD mandate, who has to comply, and exemptions. I'll also give a quick update on the Canadian ELD mandate and ELDs for interstate drivers. First, what is the ELD mandate? The ELD mandate is a piece of regulation that requires the majority of commercial motor vehicle drivers to run an electronic logging device to record their hours of service for their records of duty status. It is being mandated for two reasons. The first is to make the road safer by preventing fatigue driving. The other reason is to make it easier and faster to accurately track, manage, and share records of duty status data. The ELD mandate will affect a majority of commercial motor vehicle drivers. I will cover who that is exactly in the next slide. Lastly, it's important to remember that the ELD mandate will come into effect December 18th of this year. So then, who exactly needs to be running an ELD? The ELD mandate, as stated earlier, will affect most drivers who keep records of duty statuses and who do not qualify for an exemption. This covers a majority of interstate drivers in the United States. In fact, as a general rule of thumb, if you're currently required to keep a record of duty status, a paper log, or an electronic log, you will likely need to have an ELD by the mandate deadline. That also includes Canadian and Mexican drivers crossing the border into the United States who do not qualify for an exemption. Additionally, company drivers and owner-operators will also have to run an ELD by the mandate deadline if they do not qualify for an exemption. Which leads us to the next question you're probably wondering. Who qualifies for an exemption? The first exemption is for drivers who are not required to keep records of duty statuses. The next exemption is for drivers who do not drive more than 8 days in a given 30-day period. However, if they log more than 8 days during a given 30-day period, for example, a driver who logs 10 days in 30 days, they will need an ELD to be compliant. The next exemption is for short-haul drivers who do not drive outside a 100 air-mile radius of their home office. However, if the short-haul driver does run outside their 100 air-mile radius, they will need an electronic logging device for this time. For fleets with a mix of both long-haul and short-haul drivers, note that your short-haul drivers will most likely be exempt, but your long-haul drivers will need an ELD by December 18th of this year. There will be no exemptions for mixed driving. Drivers driving a vehicle with a model year dated before 2000, so 1999 or earlier based on the VIN, are also exempt from running an ELD. Please note that this exemption applies to the engine and not the chassis. Vehicles with engines that predate 2000 are exempt because the engine is too old and its diagnostic ability is not compatible with new technology. In addition, the FMCSA has recently announced that drivers of property carrying rental trucks that are used for 8 days or less will also qualify for exemption. However, those drivers are still required to keep track of their hours of service, whether it's in a logbook or an e-log. Please note that this exemption is only available for the next 5 years. Lastly, drivers who are part of a drive-away tow-away operation and the CMV being driven as part of a shipment, so for example an empty vehicle for lease, sale, or repair, will also qualify for an exemption. Note though, if they're driving a trailer with empty vehicles on it for sale, like a normal shipment, then the drivers will not be exempt. The only drivers who qualify for this exemption are drivers who are driving a vehicle that is empty and for sale, lease, or repair. Let's move on to compliance deadlines. So when do you need to be running an electronic logging device? Well, drivers who do not qualify for one of the previously mentioned exemptions will need to be ELD compliant by December 18th of this year. More specifically, drivers who are using paper logs or electronic logs will need to be transitioning to electronic logging devices by the mandate deadline. However, drivers who transition to AOBRDs before December 18th qualify for the AOBRD grandfather clause, which allows fleets and drivers using the devices before the mandate deadline to continue using them until December 2019. Not sure what an AOBRD is or why fleets and drivers would want to transition to them? No problem. I'll cover the differences between the two devices later in the presentation to help answer that question. Lastly, please note that by December 16, 2019, all drivers and fleets, including those using AOBRDs, must transition to electronic logging devices. So what if you're exempt from running an ELD? Is there any reason why you would consider implementing them anyways? First, even if you're exempt, chances are you're still going to keep your records of duties, statuses, which means your drivers will still need to fill out their logs and record their hours of service. ELDs and AOBRDs can help your fleet save time and money by reducing the amount of paperwork and manual data entry your drivers and staff have to complete. Still not convinced? Listen to the rest of this webinar to learn how ELDs can optimize your fleet's operations. Plus, with the majority of fleets moving to electronic logging devices, DOT inspectors are going to be trained on inspecting electronic logs now, making them the new standard. Paper logs will become less common. Plus, with the changes, it's likely that inspectors are going to look at paper logs a lot more closely, as they're more likely to have an error or violation. If you think your fleet isn't ready for electronic logging devices yet, consider moving to an electronic logbook app like our BigRoad mobile app. It's free to use and helps your drivers create clean, easy-to-read logs. Did you know that the Canadian government is working on an ELD mandate of their own? The Canadian ELD mandate is going to be similar to the FMCSA's mandate and should follow a similar implementation timeline. In Canada, the Canadian ELD mandate will be published in 2 stages. One is the proposed rule, and the second time is the final rule. Currently, it appears the earliest that the Canadian ELD mandate would be out is spring of next year. Mike Millian, president of the Private Motor Truck Council of Canada, thinks that there will only be a 1-year implementation phase-in period because of all the delays associated with the Canadian ELD mandate. As your trusted compliance experts, we'll do our best to keep you updated on the status of the Canadian ELD mandate through our BigRoad blog, our social media channels, and our monthly newsletter. Did you know that some states are now starting to mandate ELDs for their interstate drivers? For instance, Texas has changed its hours of service rules to require its interstate drivers to run ELDs by December 19, 2019. Overdrive reported that the only drivers that qualify for an exemption under the Texan mandate are agricultural drivers who drive within a 150 air-mile radius of the product's point of origin/distribution during harvest season. However, infrastructure reported that the drivers with vehicles older than the year 2000, short-haul drivers, and drivers part of a tow-away, drive-away operation would still be exempt under the Texan mandate, just like the federal ELD mandate. In addition, Florida is considering to mandate ELDs for their interstate drivers as well, but they'll be requiring their drivers to be compliant by December 31st, 2018. The only exemption allowed in the Florida mandate is for drivers transporting placardable amounts of hazardous materials. It's likely that more states will also implement ELDs for their interstate drivers as well. Be sure to watch our blog, our social media channels, and our monthly newsletter, as we'll do our best to keep you informed of any new developments. Now that we've covered the mandate and who has to comply and who is exempt, it's now time to look at how electronic logging devices can help your fleet improve its operations. First, did you know that electronic logging devices can help improve your CSA score? Electronic logging devices will have a positive effect on your fleet safety score. This is because they help your fleet create clean, inspection-ready driver logs. Electronic logging devices automatically create a portion of your driver's logs for them. Your drivers will no longer have to guess how much time they have left or accidentally mark the wrong part of their graph. Plus, DOT inspectors are less likely to nitpick their logs if they're clean and easy to read. ELDs can also help fleets avoid costly fines and violations by automatically auditing your driver's logs, helping them correct potential violations and form and manner errors before they're caught in a roadside inspection. Lastly, ELDs can store driver logs and other supporting documents in a centralized location, making them easier to retrieve during a surprise audit. So you may be wondering, how do electronic logging devices improve my fleet CSA score? First, I'd like to give you a quick refresher on what CSA is and how it works. CSA is an FMCSA initiative that was designed to improve road safety by putting more pressure on companies and motor carriers who pose a high safety risk on the road. The FMCSA uses their safety management system to assess safety scores by looking at motor carriers' BASIC scores. BASIC stands for Behavior Analysis and Safety Improvement categories. They are divided into 7 different categories. The first BASIC category is unsafe driving, which are things like not wearing your seatbelt or speeding. The next is crash indicator, which is based on your history of crashes, followed by your hours of service compliance. So that would be things like logbook violations. Next is vehicle maintenance, which can be things like mechanical defects or not making necessary repairs. Then controlled substances, which would impair driving due to drugs or alcohol. Next category is hazardous materials compliance, which is unsafe handling of hazardous materials. And the last category is driver fitness. So that would be things like a driver who lacks training or experience. Based on the information from all the categories, the safety management system will group your fleet with other motor carriers within the same range of safety events by each BASIC and rank all motor carriers. From there, you'll be assigned a number from 0 to 100, with 100 being the worst, causing your fleet to be flagged in the system for more inspections. Where ELDs can help is the Hours of Service Compliance BASIC by helping your drivers create clean, accurate driver logs. ELDs can also help your staff save time and money. Electronic logging devices save time for your drivers by automatically recording drive times, locations, and other engine data to simplify the logging process and reducing the amount of paperwork they have to complete. They also save time for your back office staff by automating data collection and storing it in a centralized location. This gives office staff instant access to driver logs, helping them avoid manual data entry and saving your fleet lots of man hours. Lastly, electronic logging devices can help fleet managers and safety managers by automatically auditing driver logs for errors and violations. In addition, the information collected by ELDs can help fleets run reports on vehicle hours and mileage, simplifying their reports, log auditing, and payroll. ELDs also simplify the logging process with automated data collection. This saves drivers from having to stop and fill out paperwork. Also, most ELDs automatically audit logs for potential errors, helping fleets avoid getting caught with a violation and incurring a fine. Lastly, with paper logs, drivers often have to round up to 15 minutes for tasks that may only take 6. With a paper log, it's easy to miscalculate hours and accidentally go over. Something as small as drawing a line in the wrong spot can cost your fleet thousands. As ELDs will do a lot of the recording for your drivers, their logs will have precise drive times that are not rounded to the next 15 minutes. So if a task only takes 8 minutes, the ELD will be able to reflect that, allowing your drivers to stay focused on the road. Which brings us to our next point. How can you use electronic logging devices to improve your fleet's operations? The first way that ELDs can help maximize operations is by reducing the amount of man-hours spent on paperwork and administrative tasks. As previously mentioned, ELDs will save time and money for both your drivers and back office staff by preventing them to have to fill out paperwork and completing manual data entry. Another way ELDs can help is to reduce the amount of fines and violations through automatic log auditing. ELD solutions like BigRoad StashLink ELD and the BigRoad web app help fleets save time and money by notifying fleets of violations as they occur, and giving drivers a chance to fix the error before it's caught in a roadside inspection. ELDs will also create clean, inspection-ready driver logs that are easy for law enforcement to go through. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, electronic logging devices also help fleets prepare for audits by automatically storing logs in a central location where they can be easily retrieved. Depending on the ELD solution you choose for your fleet, ELDs will also help you make better decisions with improved reporting, giving you valuable insight into your fleet's operations. Lastly, all the previously mentioned benefits of ELDs go to help reduce your fleet's costs and ultimately save valuable time, which helps protect your fleet's margins and improve your bottom line. Now that we've covered how electronic logging devices can help your fleet, let's cover why you should consider transitioning sooner rather than later. Want to ease your drivers into engine-connected logging? Of course you do, and you can make the transition from paper logs easier if you switch your drivers to an AOBRD before moving them to ELDs. AOBRDs allow for limited editing, giving your drivers the chance to correct their mistakes as they get accustomed to the new rules and technology. Plus, they do not readily display those edits to the DOT during roadside inspections. Because AOBRDs work in a similar manner to ELDs, but are far less restrictive, they're a good bridge between paper logs and ELDs as you help your drivers make the transition. However, it is really important to remember that you can only qualify for the AOBRD grandfather clause if the devices are implemented before the mandate deadline of December 18th of this year. You will not be able to purchase any automatic onboard recording devices after this date, even if you wanted to. Still not sure why you should consider switching to AOBRDs? Let's discuss how the two devices are similar yet different. For instance, as shown in the chart, AOBRDs record a lot less data and allow for some of that data to be manually entered or edited. Note how both devices record locations. For example, AOBRDs only record locations during a change in duty status. In contrast, an ELD automatically records location whenever there is a change in duty status, every 60-minute interval while driving, whenever the engine is shut off and on, whenever the driver signs in and out of the device, and at the end and start of yard moves and personal conveyance. And, with the exception of personal conveyance, all of this is recorded within a 1 mile of accuracy. Another noticeable difference between the two devices is how much editing can be done to a driver's logs. AOBRDs allow for minor edits and do not readily display those edits to inspectors during a roadside inspection. In contrast, ELDs will record who makes the edit, when they made the edit, and why they made the edit. It will keep both versions, the original and the edited copy, to display both during a roadside inspection. Although to truly appreciate the difference between the two devices, it's worth taking a look at these mock-ups of an AOBRD log and an ELD log for the exact same day. As these mock-ups demonstrate, both logs include the driver, carrier, trailer, shipment information, and the driver's duty graph. The AOBRD records the location, time, duration, and duty status. In contrast, the ELD log records and displays far more information about your driver's day. Not only does the ELD record everything the AOBRD does, it also records and displays the ELD status, the CMV status, and the location during every 60-minute intervals of driving. Plus, all the events on the electronic logging device include the time, type, location, odometer reading, engine hours, and event origin. The event origin refers to whether the event was automatic or triggered by the driver. It's also important to note that ELDs will call attention to any unassigned miles. Moreover, ELDs are required to warn drivers about any unassigned driving time and miles that the device records when they log into the ELD. This is because they're required to make sure that all vehicle miles are accounted for. So even if a mechanic takes the vehicle for a test drive, they want to ensure that driver logs are accurate. As a result, the ELDs can be far more restrictive than an AOBRD. Moreover, the rules surrounding ELDs are specific on how the device must handle certain events and situations. For example, electronic logging devices automatically switch a driver's duty status to on duty, not driving, whenever their vehicle has stopped moving for 5 consecutive minutes and the driver has not responded to a prompt within 60 seconds. In contrast, AOBRDs are not required to change a driver's duty status when the vehicle is no longer in motion. Given that AOBRDs have been grandfathered under the ELD mandate, fleets should consider transitioning to them before ELDs to help their drivers ease into this new rules and technology. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, a grandfathered AOBRD is an automatic onboard recording device that has been installed on a vehicle before December 18, 2017. This device must be compliant with Section 395.15. Note that AOBRDs are compliant with the ELD mandate. That means fleets and drivers using them before the mandate deadline can continue using the devices until December 2019. However, as previously mentioned, after December 18, 2017, AOBRDs will no longer be available for purchase, so you can't even buy one if you wanted to after the mandate deadline. Also, motor carriers will not be allowed to install AOBRDs on new trucks in their fleet. They can only install AOBRDs on existing trucks after the mandate deadline. Do you have more questions about ELDs? We can help. BigRoad is an industry leader providing hours of service compliance solutions. We were founded in 2011 with the goal of helping drivers track their record of duty status while helping them ensure they are running in compliance with complicated and constantly changing hours of service rules. From here, we quickly grew into a fleet-friendly business that offers solutions to support back-office staff, dispatchers, and safety managers to better manage their drivers and safety and ultimately improve business operations. Whether you're a passenger carrier or a large fleet comprised of owner-operators or company drivers, we help fleets of all types and sizes. In fact, over 30,000 fleets rely on BigRoad to remain compliant and improve their operations. And now, with the electronic logging device mandate fast approaching, we're helping fleets get on the path to compliance with a solution that's easy to use, fast to roll out, and affordable. Our solutions are the BigRoad mobile app, the BigRoad web app, and our ELD Dashlink. If your fleet is looking for an electronic logging device solution, we suggest your drivers download the BigRoad mobile app. It's our electronic logbook and hours of service management application. It'll give your drivers a chance to try the app and get a feel for e-logs. Our app is completely free for drivers to use. To get the app, simply download it to an Apple or Android cell phone or tablet. The BigRoad mobile app takes the guesswork out of logging for your drivers. They can create inspectable, error-free logs, all while accurately tracking their hours of service. Your drivers also don't have to worry about wrong calculations, driving over their hours, state-specific rules, or form of manner errors, as our app will proactively notify them of any issues. If your drivers are already using the BigRoad mobile app, we suggest that you give our BigRoad web app a try. It's our real-time fleet management tool that helps fleet managers and office staff better manage their drivers while getting their fleet on the road to compliance. From the BigRoad web app, you'll be able to see where all your drivers are on a map and monitor hours of service compliance. You can easily see who's at risk of a violation and reach out to them so they can correct the issue before it impacts your safety score. Both the BigRoad web app and our BigRoad mobile app connect with our Dashlink ELD. Dashlink ELD is our solution to help fleets run in compliance with the ELD mandate, and it's already a favorite among drivers and fleets. It's the most affordable solution available with no upfront hardware fees. It's a simple plug-and-play device that can be installed in minutes by your drivers with no expensive professional installation required. Even better, it's a flexible solution that lets you decide when you want to run in full ELD compliance. Did you know that if you implement our Dashlink before the mandate deadline, you can run it as a fully compliant AOBRD? Our device is compliant with Section 395.15, meaning if you implement Dashlink before December 18th of this year, you will qualify for the AOBRD grandfather clause and give your drivers an extra 2 years to run under the more flexible AOBRD rules. Plus, you decide when you want to flip the switch and run under ELD rules. This is a great option for fleets with drivers who are apprehensive about the mandate or just less tech savvy in general. Have you heard of our exciting rewards program? Recently, we launched the BigRoad referral app. program where you can earn $75 reward for every truck driver you refer to BigRoad and who buys a DashLink ELD. Plus, the truckers you refer who purchase a DashLink also receive a $25 reward too. Even better, there's no limit on the number of friends you can refer to BigRoad. So if you refer 10 friends to BigRoad and all of them will purchase a DashLink ELD, you would earn $750 in rewards. So how does it work? First, you have to join the BigRoad referral program. Go to www.bigroad.com/rewards and click the green button to register. Once registered, you'll receive a unique URL referral code to share with your trucker friends. You can text, email, or even share it on your social media profile or blog. Using your referral code, your friend visits our website and buys a DashLink ELD. Once the purchase goes through, you both get paid. You receive a $75 reward, and they'll get a $25 reward. Rewards are redeemable for a gift card or a prepaid credit card of your choice. Plus, the BigRoad referral program is open to everyone. Be sure to visit www.bigroad.com/rewards to learn more. That concludes the presentation part of our webinar. If you have any questions about the information we just presented or about BigRoad, please type them into the question box now. While we're waiting for questions to come in, I do have a few things you can take advantage of. If you're interested about learning more about BigRoad solutions and would like a demo personalized to your fleet, send us an email at sales@bigroad.com and we'd be happy to set that up for you. If you haven't already done so, get started with a free 30-day no-obligation trial of BigRoad. Getting into the system and playing around with the features and functionality is the best way to decide if BigRoad is the right fit for you. To do this, visit www.bigroad.com/get-started. We also suggest that your drivers download the BigRoad mobile app. They'll have a chance to try out the app and see how it works. They can visit the Google Play Store or the iTunes Store and search for BigRoad to download it to their device. Also, we are introducing a new promotion where fleets that purchase a year up front will get an additional 3 months for free. We're currently updating our marketing to reflect this new promotion, but you can take advantage of this offer now. Lastly, once we wrap up questions, you'll be prompted to complete a survey. If you could take a second to fill this out, we'd appreciate it. It lets us know how we did and how we can make our webinars better in the future. Now let's dive into questions. Michelle asks, can we utilize the DashLink ELD for IFTA mileage? Our DashLink ELD connects to your vehicle's ECM via an adapter and to the BigRoad mobile app via Bluetooth to record your driver's hours of service, miles, and other engine data. As a result, you can generate reports within the BigRoad web app's dashboard that you can use to assist with filing IFTA reports. Randy asks, does BigRoad have AOBRDs? Our DashLink ELD can be used as an automatic onboard recording device if it is purchased and installed in your truck before December 18th of this year. Installing our DashLink ELD before the mandate deadline allows you to qualify for that AOBRD grandfather clause, which means you can continue using it as an AOBRD for an additional 2 years. During this 2-year period, you can choose to move to ELDs with a simple software download. If you install DashLink ELD after the mandate deadline, so that's after December 18th, 2017 of this year, then you must use it as an electronic logging device, as you will not qualify for the AOBRD grandfather clause. Well, that looks like that's all the questions we have time for. The remaining questions will be answered on the BigRoad blog. Thank you for taking the time to attend today's webinar. Be sure to watch your email for a link to our blog where you can find a recording of today's webinar and the questions or the answers to today's questions. Have a great day. Bye.